Welcome back. This is Module 2 of the Happiness Formula, where you're actually going to see the formula in this module, and you'll start to understand it. But first, I want to make sure you did the exercise at the end of Module 1, because that's going to form the basis for what we're going to do here in Module 2 and help you understand things a bit better. So let's review Exercise 1 first, which was, on a scale of 0 to 10, where 0 is absolutely miserable and 10 is totally happy, how did you rate your level of happiness? Did you do it? If not, please do it now. 0 to 10, how happy are you? And if you did do it, great. Because now let's do Exercise 2. Using that 0 to 10 score that you did in Exercise 1, if you're not at a happiness level 10, write down the reasons you feel you're not as happy as possible. I'm just going to give you a few seconds to jot down a word or a phrase or a few phrases here. Just write down your answer now on why you feel you're not at a happiness level 10. If you're not, write them down now. Okay, great. Finish up, because right now I want to get into the happiness formula. And first of all, I want to say, don't be intimidated by this. This is starting out as a mathematical formula, but it's really very simple, as you'll see. So the formula is H equals G plus DH plus C plus 3R divided by 6. Now obviously you don't know what this means, so that's the first thing, is to understand what this means. I assume you can probably figure out that H stands for happiness. And here's what it means. Your happiness is going to equal G, your level of gratitude, plus DH, which stands for your definition of happiness. We're going to get into this in detail later. Everybody's definition is different, but for now, just know it stands for definition of happiness. C stands for contribution, and 3R stands for what I call the essential 3 R's of happiness, which are relationships, rules, and regrets. And all of this is then divided by 6. Now remember, this is going to be very clear to you in just a little while, and it is very simple. So let's get into it a little deeper right here. We're going to start by just using that same 0 to 10 scale that we used in Exercise 1, and we're going to come up with a happiness score. So, again, looking at the components, the different components of the happiness formula here, we're going to use those, and we're going to rate each of those on that 0 to 10 scale. So first, the G, gratitude. Let's say there's a lot of negative stuff going on in your life right now. Let's use an example here and say that it's hard to focus on the positives. Maybe you focus a lot on the negatives. And let's say in the area of gratitude, it's really hard for you to be grateful right now. And so in this area, you give yourself, let's say, a 3 on this 0 to 10 scale. Not so good. Now, definition of happiness, this is a little more difficult because there's really two components, as again, we'll talk about later. But for right now, their definition of happiness, first of all, most people don't even know their definition of happiness. And secondly, even if they do, they're not achieving that definition of happiness. They're not meeting that definition. Let's say for you right now, you're in between good and bad. You know your definition, but you're not achieving it. So you give yourself a 5 on that scale of 0 to 10. Now in the area of contribution, let's say you contribute a fair amount. You might volunteer on a regular basis, or you might help out your parents or your grandparents, or you contribute to society in some way, and so you do a pretty good job of contribution, and you give yourself an 8 in this area on that 0 to 10 scale. Now in the 3 R's, we break that down into first, relationships. Let's say your relationships are okay. They could be a lot better. Maybe you're married, or you're wanting to get married, or whatever, and you give yourself a level 6. You've got some good friends, but you don't see them very often. In any case, you give yourself a level 6. Now, rules. This is a little more difficult. We'll get into this later. Everybody has rules. Let's say you do have quite a few rules, and they're causing conflict with the rules of other people, so you give yourself a 4 in this area. Now, regrets. We all have regrets, but let's say you don't have a lot of significant regrets. You have some, and there may be some things that you wish you've done that you haven't done yet. And so, but overall, not too bad in the area of regrets. Let's say you give yourself a 7. So now, according to the formula, what you do when you have numbers in all of these areas, you add these up, G plus DH plus C plus 3R. You add those up, and when you add them up in this example, you get the number 33, which then, if you divide this by 6, you get 5.5, which is essentially your happiness score. Now, when you ask most people to do this, they come up with a number somewhere between 4 and 7. Now, we're going to do this with you in just a few minutes, but this number is obviously right in between 4 and 7, and the goal here is to take your happiness score, whatever it is, in this example it's a 5.5, and increase it regularly, first to maybe a 6.8, and then to 7.4, and then perhaps to an 8.6, and then really getting good to a 9.8, or to that ultimate goal of getting to a happiness level 10, which means you are totally and completely happy in your life. And that's what this happiness formula will help you do. It'll help you do several things. First of all, it'll help you know where you are right now, what your happiness score is right now on that scale of 0 to 10. Then it'll help you understand the reasons why you're not as happy as you can be. You wrote down some reasons in exercise 2, but this will really help you understand them. Then it'll help you create a plan for happiness, a happiness plan, and then help you to monitor and improve that happiness on a regular basis so you can get to that level 10. So, for right now, to end Module 2, let's do another exercise. This is exercise 3, which on that same scale of 0 to 10, it's time to really get your true baseline happiness score. To use the happiness formula, H equals G plus DH plus C plus 3R, and then divide it all by 6. So what I want you to do is take each of the components for exercise 3, write these down on a piece of paper: gratitude, definition of happiness, contribution, relationships, rules, and regrets, all 6 of those. And I want you to rate each of them, just like we did in the example. How grateful are you for the things in your life on a 0 to 10 scale? Do you know your definition of happiness? If you don't, you're going to start off with a relatively low score. But if you do, are you meeting that definition? So get a number for each of these. How much do you contribute? How are your relationships? Do the exercise now, write these down, and come up with a number. For example, I'm showing you some numbers here. Come up with a number for each of these. Do the exercise now. Take whatever time you need. Divide the sum of those numbers by 6 and get your happiness score. And then we're going to go into Module 3.